All right.
We're never going to get started here.
No. Okay, can we start?
Who wants to start?
It doesn't matter.
I like, let's start with your posting one.
Yeah, because I think that's such horseshit.
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you, I'll talk about it a lot. And I'll
yeah.
tell you the pros of why I did it and now looking back why it sucked.
So what's the name of the episode?
It's called Put the Salary on the Post.
Okay, got it.
All right.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restauranttopia.
Welcome back to Restauranttopia. Anthony Hamilton has an amazing episode focusing on putting the salary number on the post. We're all looking for new employees. The number one concern of every restaurant is hiring. Anthony's going to say why you should put the salary number on the post, and David is going to argue with him.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to get heckled, but I like it.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Right, here we go.
Well, at least we're pumped up. So,
Anthony.
yeah. What do you got?
So,
You
Good
scared
morning,
me.
everybody.
Yeah, no. So, all right, this is going to be good.
So this is something that I used to do a long time ago, and I'm still seeing it today. And you hit the nail on the head right there, because you're talking about the competition between restaurants getting labor right now. Everybody's hiring. It doesn't matter if it's New York, Minnesota, wherever the hell. I see it all the time. We're hiring all positions.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to put yourself in a position of competitive advantage, just like you do with your customers, right? Mm-hmm. So this isn't just about hiring the next person out behind your door. Like, you got to advertise, you got to market this. Yeah. First of all, I saw this amazing post the other day on LinkedIn, and this guy was talking about like Indeed's not the answer, and ZipRecruiter's not the answer, and LinkedIn's not the answer. He says the answer is your restaurant. How good of a place is it to work, right? And I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. So I stole it and reposted it. Of course I did. But then I started thinking about that and going down that hole. And how many times did I post a job in my career, or I see now when I'm looking to try to help people, where it says salary dependent on experience, or wages dependent on experience, or competitive wages, in those terms. Mm-hmm. And I really thought that through, and it's like, my God, I used to do that all the time. And then I thought why I did it all the time. And the reason why I did it all the time is because I was so obsessed with cutting labor costs. And I didn't want to accidentally overpay for someone. And my always hope was, so I would bring Dave in for an interview, right? And Dave, you and I would sit down, you would go do a stage, which is like a working interview.
What am I applying for?
Say line cook, sous chef, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Because I'm going
I just want to make sure I'm prepared. Okay.
Yeah. Servers are easy because they know their salary already, right? It's
yeah.
You get minimum wage, right? But with the line cooks, it's a little bit different. And we would always look at it based on experience. So I would bring you an interview. You would go through a working interview or a stage. And we'd sit down together. How'd you like the place? You say, hey, it's great. I would like to work here. I said, great. We'd love to have you. And then my next question would be, how much you need to make, Dave? How much you need to make? And then I would sit there just like tense and just hope he says $12 an hour. Hope he says, no, if you can't tell, this information is dated, because people would love to pay $12 an hour nowadays. But I would hope that you would say something low, and then you would come back and say 13, and I'd say, how about $12.50? And you say, okay, that sounds great, right? But what I didn't know about this is how much I was both shortchanging myself and shortchanging you, because you were desperate for a job. You really wanted to work here. So you were excited to work at the place because there was a lot of talent and it was a good organization. So maybe you took $1 an hour less than what you really needed because you were excited, right? Yeah. And you walk out and say, wow, I got the job, but I took $1 less an hour. It doesn't take long for that $1 less an hour to catch up to you and the excitement to wear off, right? Mm-hmm. And so the
excitement, it maybe doesn't start.
Well, it doesn't
but I'm just saying, it might not start because somebody takes the job, they need it. Yeah. They're not a confrontational person. They don't want to like say, no, I really need 13 because they think they might not get it, or they might lose the opportunity.
Exactly.
Their excitement for the job may not even begin.
Well, and me as an operator, and you're right, they may have been like incredibly excited, but I thwarted that excitement real quick. I put a lid on it, didn't I? Right? And I never thought about it, because I would always go back and be like, yo, I got this guy for $12.50. I can't believe it. That's amazing. And then what happened? The guy, girl, whoever works for the restaurant for a few months, and the next great offer comes along, and guess what they do? They bail. Right. They bail. Or even worse, they stay and they're broke and they're miserable and they rot my culture from the inside. Right.
Or start stealing from you, or
100%.
All the other issues that this starts. I think this is an issue I've seen in so many companies where, I understand the marketplace and we're trying to be competitive and you want to have good labor costs, but you want to honor that employee and you need to figure out a way to pay them a wage. And I'm not trying to, talk about $15 minimum wage and stuff like that. I'm talking about microeconomics. You in your organization, what you need to pay that individual to win hearts and minds make sure that they're excited, keep them successful, and make sure that they're being paid enough to be happy and have a livable wage.
Unbelievable. So the other side of the coin of that is what I didn't realize too is, so Dave, we sit down and have that same conversation. I'm hoping for 12.50 and you come back at me at 14. And I said, shit, okay, I really need this guy. I need his talent. I can put Dave right on the grill. He's going to rock it on a Saturday night with almost zero training, right? Because you see where my head's at back then. Like I was pretty mature. But
that's not long-term thinking though.
I'm different now, right?
Yeah,
This is desperation.
But I'm trying to, for the listener, I'm trying to like, let's peel back the onion. What kind of thinking is that? That's short term.
Yeah, and I'll get to the point here too. That it makes it even more short term. So I'm like, all right, Dave, $14 an hour. Yeah, I need you, buddy. So yeah, agreed. You're on. And you can have that 2 weeks vacation you're asking for too. So Dave goes up to the line first day, starts working. My grill cook, who's been with me for 5 years, looks at Dave. Hey, you got a good pedigree, man. How much they paying you? Oh, I got 14. Not bad. Meanwhile, my grill cook, who's been here for 5 years, making $12.50. Oh. He gets 1 week vacation. So what do you think happens next? Guess who's in my office?
I'll tell you what. Yeah.
Well, guess who's in my office? Hey, why is this dude?
With a couple explicatives.
Yeah, explicatives. Yes, I love that. So I dealt with this all the time, and I never stepped out to look at it. And
So how did you handle that? Give me a couple of scenarios where that happened. Somebody comes back and goes, I can't believe like this guy's making this, I'm making this. Like, I've been here this long. Like what?
Do you know who Gregory Hines is?
Gregory Hines.
Yeah, he's a tap dancer.
Okay.
Really good at tap dancing. That's what I did. I tap danced. And then what would happen is you would obviously, that grill cook's been loyal to you. They're coming at you with the right material, and it is bullshit.
No. Did you honor that grill cook?
The tenured one? Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to if you don't want to lose them, right? Because then I'm back in the same position. Or if they're saying I need $2 an hour I quit, it's like, well, there's the door.
No. Did you honor him
in the decision of hiring the other person?
No. Before, were you underpaying him before?
Yeah. Well, see, and this is where it keeps getting cyclical, Brian. That's a great point because I lowballed him. He came in and said I need $11.50, and I was like, yes, he doesn't know his worth. I'm going to take advantage of that. And then the next guy, Dave, knows his worth. He's 14. I said, sweet, let's do it. And then all of a sudden I got this disparity in pay, and I got two people. One of them maybe doesn't have the great pedigree, but has been in my company for 5 years. They know the ins and outs, the ups and downs. Yep. So I hired this new hotshot all-star to come in who has no stake in my game whatsoever, and I'm paying him more than people that have sacrificed for me for 5 years.
And he's a proven entity too. He hasn't left you. He hasn't done a bunch of no-call, no-shows, and I'm putting this kid on a pedestal now. But like there hasn't been this constant issue with him as an employee.
Right.
And he definitely deserves $14.
Yep.
Again, whatever that wage is, we're just using.
And then what do you look like as an employer if all of a sudden you give him the 14 when he got pointed out? What would it be? $1.50 that you gave him in a raise? Mm-hmm. It did nothing. Like it actually is even negative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so you spent the money and got nothing or maybe negative in return.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the guy's going to be probably shopping you, looking somewhere else. He's in a bad mood. He's not doing the job right. He's sloughing off. You know what I mean? Like you totally ruined that kid's.
Yeah. How do you get that morale back?
Yeah.
How do you get that loyalty back?
I don't think you ever do.
I don't think you do either.
So for our listeners, like do a deep dive on that. When you get caught speeding, how does your staff view you after that point?
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you how they view me?
Yeah.
Normal. Because that's what the industry did.
That
was every restaurant, and it's a shame.
But I don't think that is the future. And I think if you want a competitive advantage and you want to put yourself ahead of other operators.
Absolutely.
The line cook knows 25 people. Mm-hmm. Any normal person knows 25 people. Of those 25 people, 5 of them are probably in the industry. Mm-hmm. Those 5 people could be potential employees of your operation.
Or customers.
Oh, definitely customers. But like employees, I'm just talking about trying to bring in talent. And it becomes much, much easier to attract new talent when your existing talent is happy.
Yeah, 100%.
And I haven't seen your notes, so if this is something you're going to go into, but shouldn't there be certain positions that this is what it is? Mm-hmm. This is the amount, right? And then there's maybe higher positions that, there's a bigger driver of top line sales or profit or whatever, that there's a bigger, like this guy's skill set, there's a bigger range, and maybe that is, but like at certain levels, like dishwashers this, line cooks this.
I believe we call that a consultative takeaway is what you just dropped on me. And that's what we're getting to next, right? Okay. So how do we solve this problem? Because in the industry, I can tell you it's still going on. I can tell you I did it a lot. That's how I was taught. That's how I continue to do it all the way through my tenure in the industry. It wasn't until recently I look back on it and say, man, that was pretty shameful and short-sighted, right? And listen, I'm not blaming anybody I work with or anybody that taught me that because that was just the way of the world. I don't know that anybody stepped out of that world and took an objective view of it and said, look, this probably isn't healthy for my business. It was all about the short-term money grab right now.
I love what you just said there. It is not sustainable. And
Right.
that's what I want our listeners to hear today, is that is not sustainable. And you look at, I've been studying Dunkin' Donuts and how they're burning through people at $11 an hour and how they treat their management, good or bad. I'm not making an opinion on that. I'm just saying I study these national chains and these organizations to see how they do things and what is successful and what is not. You look at Chick-fil-A, what they're doing was successful and what is not. So I love that we're talking about this today because I think it's so very important for the local independent operator who is constantly looking for people and may have a history of turnover. Because I think that's common in the industry. But the way that you stop that is that you switch the way you're doing things.
Well, and I believe this ties into past episodes where we're talking about hiring and culture and those things. So if you've got a certain amount of money you're willing to pay for this position, okay, somebody, if you're constantly interviewing and constantly trying to hire and constantly looking at people, you're going to get people that come in that may not fit that dollar amount for that position. Well, you may have to pass.
Yeah.
When you don't have a production system of getting interviews, you're taking, if all of a sudden the job's 14, like that's the job.
Yeah.
Okay? But somebody comes in and they're not at 14, you got to be able to go, okay, sorry, this isn't going to work out.
100%.
But you're scared to death because you got nobody standing behind them.
Yeah, yeah. Or you put them on a lower station, maybe put them on garbage day and say, hey, look, like I love you, I love where you're at, but you're not quite at the level I need for a grill cook. But would you consider a fry position? Because and in your head you're like, okay, maybe my fry cook could step up with a little training, and all of a sudden I can still plug those holes.
You're honoring a current person
Yeah.
with you to go up the ladder.
Crazy, isn't it? Imagine that. And then all of a sudden that becomes very sustainable because you're transparent, you're honest, and you're promoting from within, which is all good juju. We know that. I look at the Browns here, and I'm not sure if you guys follow the Browns during free agency. The one and only Brown and Orange, the best team in the NFL, by the way. Anyway, one thing I've been seeing about the Browns and what I love about this, so Andrew Barry's a GM, and this kid is, I think he's probably 2 years younger than us. Like shit, I think he's 39, something like that. Anyway, he's young for a GM, one of the youngest GMs, right?
No.
So, but brilliant dude. So what he's doing with free agents, the fans are like, oh, bring in Clowney, bring in this person. Barry has a structure for what he wants to pay positions. He has a value proposition for every position, whether it's defensive end, cornerback, quarterback, running back, so on and so forth. And he's unwavering and he's transparent. And he gives these free agents offers and he says, here's your offer sheet. This is what we're willing to pay a slot corner or an outside corner or a defensive end like yourself at your skill set. And this is our budget for this. Here's the offer. Take it or leave it. And a lot of free agents have walked, like big name free agents have been in town, visited and walked. Fans are pissed. Oh my God, can't do that. But what he sees is, yeah, you're pissed right now. But in 5 years, you're going to be real happy because we built this thing sustainably. Just
Can
brilliant.
we timestamp that? Because I would love for that to happen in 5 years.
Yeah.
But
It's on its way, buddy.
I hope so. I do. I hope so.
Yeah.
I do.
But we're still paying for prior mistakes, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Well,
Well, it's not his fault.
Yeah, and I think every team has got some of that.
Yeah.
At some level.
But you have the legacy mistakes in an organization that you have to be accountable
No
for.
different.
I think-
no different than your restaurant.
And I think restaurant operators, though, can mimic that style. Why I brought it up is because if you take a step back and you look at your entire labor situation and start really diving down to a granular level and say, okay, here's my achievement. This is my measurable objective. I need to get to 25 or 30 or 21 or whatever your percentage is that generates profitability. And then you start really breaking it into parcels and say, okay, this is what I can invest in my grill team. This is what I've invested in my fry team, pantry, dishwashing, so on and so forth. And then you set salaries. You put that post up, and guess what? You're honest, you're transparent, you're straightforward. I think it just bodes well for a long-term relationship.
One thing I'd love to ask you about is how are you determining that price, that wage?
I'm using a rubric.
Okay.
So a rubric is what I use in school too. It's how you quantify the qualitative, right? So because you can look at a cook and you can gut shot it and say, oh, that's a great cook, they're worth 14. Or you can actually break their skill set down into parcels. And it's much like when I'm grading a paper for school, I don't just grade the paper and give my opinion. Like I have a value placed at each level of prowess. So and it's a sliding scale. So if you made 0 mistakes, that's a perfect out of that. And so let's say it's a 100-point paper. I have 10 parcels in my rubric to look at. So I've broken it down into 10 different things. And 0 mistakes, you get 10 out of this section. If you were some mistakes, you get 5. If made a ton of mistakes, you get 0. And I do that same thing all the way down. Then what happens is if I look at it and say, okay, there's a lot of mistakes there, more than 10. Yeah, that's a 0. Less than 10. Okay, that's a 5. And you see how I'm doing that, right? So then I can go down and make a rubric, and I could just go down maybe 10 different attributes that I like in an employee and then attach a number to it.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, how do I, as a restaurateur, figure out that a line cook is
Like
supposed to be
what the number is?
Yeah,
Like what
50,
the actual
what's
dollar
what's
amount is.
how do I know it's 15 and not 18 in my market?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So there's a lot of dynamics at play. And I think what you got to look at is what the going rate is, because you have to be competitive.
Yeah.
And then also, too, look at your internal numbers. I mean, when was that time that you achieved 25% labor in an amazing week at an average sales level or something? And then look at your schedule and emulate that.
No, I think you back into that part. I'm talking about let's take out labor, food cost, or prime cost out of the equation at the beginning. What is the marketplace demand for a good line cook? Let's figure out what that amount is, and each position that's there, and then let's make sure we match up our prime costs, that our menu is priced accurately and appropriately. Because
menu pricing matters?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Because I think if we do it that way, we're going to generate the results that we need and be able to honor those employees and pay them the appropriate amount. If it means we're going to up all of our sides by 50 cents and that will offset the cost of the staff, do it.
Yeah.
I mean, your customer is not going to notice the 50 cents increase, but they will notice the higher consistency in the food prep, the service, all the things that go into that. I think people are too willing to do this race to the bottom on everything.
Yeah.
And labor is one of them, and you're like, oh, the guy left for $13 an hour when you easily could have paid him $13, but you chose not to, and now you had to fill that position every 7 months or whatever the number is.
Yeah, and again, Cornell did a study, $5,684 it costs a restaurant to turn over an employee. And then the National Restaurant Association did a study. $150,000 a year is what the average restaurant spends on turnover. I mean, listen, it's not brass tacks, but when you got Cornell and the National Restaurant Association, I believe it to a reasonable degree. Maybe it's not 5,684. Maybe it's 4,862. I don't know, but it's close enough to where I'm going to look at it and be like, you know what? Like that extra buck an hour is totally worth it. Remember what Paul said at Zingerman's? And he said, not being profitable is irresponsible because you have people's livelihoods at stake.
Profit is it's your responsibility.
Yeah, and he says if you're not profitable, that's irresponsible. It wasn't failure. It wasn't anything else. It was, this is in your hands. Go be profitable. And I love that because it ties into what you're saying. 50 cents a side, whatever it takes, man. Don't be shy about pricing on your menus. Because you got to pay for your thing. And we all know, we all go to that restaurant. If the meal's good enough, I don't care if it's $50. I don't care if it's $200. If it's good enough and executed to your point where you're talking about that great service, great everything, you forget about the price.
So I'm a restaurateur. I'm listening to this episode. I'm driving into work in my car and I'm going, shit. I do this. I've got $12.50, $13. I got a guy at $15. I got, I've got this unparity in my kitchen. What do I do when I get into that?
Yeah, see, that's the hardest part, right? Because everybody's got a different measurable objective they shoot for. So again, I think what you got to look at is you got to look at a good time period that shows good, whatever we're talking about labor costs right now. So let's look at a good time period that shows great labor costs, and then look at your schedules for that corresponding time. And then you break it down and you say, okay, I had this many hours dedicated to fry cook, this many hours dedicated to grill cook, this many hours dedicated to saute, and so on and so forth, and dish and everybody else in there. And then you say, okay, I had this many labor dollars. So where am I going to allocate these labor dollars? Well, based on this, my average pay for, the dishwashers at this many hours was this, that fits in. Do that budget that way, make it all fit, and then use that as your benchmark. And the bigger time period you use, the better. But I know that seems a little vague, but again, it's really a moving target because every operator has different ideas, but that's where I would start.
Yeah, I would go back to, I would do that. I would also cross-check that with what is the market rate for these positions.
100%. Yeah, because you're never going to, if you start putting $7 an hour for a grill cook on your posting, no one's ever going to call you.
Correct. And then I think the underlying theme of the episode is put that number in your job post. So there is a meeting of the minds of who you're going to get. And you might have to increase it to attract more talent.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The market rate or whatever, the sous chef is not a Chilean sea bass. You're not going to put market rate on it. Like
we do put market price on it. We do.
So
do.
Why
wage MP?
Yeah. Why hide the ball? Just be honest, open, transparent. This is what it is. No matter what position it is, whether it's a front of house manager or dishwasher, you can put a salary range. If that's the type of position, if there's a big deviation in skill set, let that person know, hey, this is what I potentially could be signing up for.
Well, what you're coming back to is expectations, clear expectations.
I love it.
Yeah, oddly enough, it's this is kind of funny, Dave. You love this. My practicum for my master's is kind of like my thesis, and my 20-page term paper that I have to write is all on expectations and the 6 pillars of expectations and how to lead to employee turnover. You're going to love it. Yeah, I figured you'd love it.
I can't wait.
No, it's good.
Can we do a podcast episode on that? Or is it's not
we
copyrighted?
No,
and we like it?
No.
I love it. I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, no, let's put that on an episode. That sounds great. Anthony, this is great stuff. Love what you got us thinking about. And I'm meeting with an operator this afternoon, and it's one of the issues that we're going to discuss is turnover and labor and getting key employees in key positions. So I think this is really interesting, really relevant to every single operator out there. Look at what the national chains are doing. You can do it better. You are a local independent operator. You're the ultimate entrepreneur. Thanks for being on the show today. Dave, great stuff. Anthony, thanks so much.
I appreciate the nod, brother.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Take care, y'all.
This is a high quality pod. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Adios.
Thank you for listening to Restaurantopia. The gratitude that we have for each and every one of you spending your precious time to listen to this podcast is immeasurable. Please make sure to tell a friend about this podcast. And also, if you have any feedback for us, visit us on restaurantopia.com and drop us a line. You can also subscribe on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Thank you and have a great day.
That's some good pod. I like that. That felt fast. I felt like we had some energy.
Yeah, it was good space.
That was good.
Again.
That was a great topic. I actually wasn't expecting that to go where it went, honestly.
Me neither. Me neither. Like I think that's actually something that we all think about and talk about, and then you're like, oh, this guy will take $11.50. Fuck yes.
Well, no, you described it perfectly. Like you're trying to get a deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And you end up fucking yourself. You know what I mean? You're not buying a car.